kind of a little trick here that I think is kind of neat. But basically what I've done here is I've created a Mad Libs, and I want to be able to write a Mad Libs and put in the fields where stuff should go in these double curly braces. And that was arbitrary. I just decided that this is how I'm going to mark my fields because I wanted something that doesn't get repeated often in text. You never see double curly braces in regular text. But I've got this little Mad Lib story, and you can see it's got the generic parts of speech in here, a feeling, a color. And I use, if there are more than one, I might use a digit, like feeling number 1 at the end to make sure that they don't get confused, because you have to have unique fields in here. But you can see it's got a number of fields here. And what I want to do is I want to create a generic Mad Libs script that can take any text in this format and open that file, find all of these fields, ask the user to input their data. So ask the user for a person's name, for a feeling, for an animal, and then insert that into the text and display it for the user, given any text. Now, this code is actually in Canvas already. So if you want to follow along, if you want to copy and paste it into yours, or if you just want to check it out, this is the sandbox for today. But we're going to start, this is kind of 3 parts, right? So the first thing is open the file, find the fields. The second thing is ask the user for input on each of those fields. The third thing is take the user input and put it into the Mad Libs. So the first thing we're going to do is I've got a couple of variables that I've established here. LIS field, so a list of fields, and a dictionary object. And I'll show you how I'm going to use those in just a little bit here. But I'm just establishing those variables up top so I know what they are. I'm opening up the Mad Libs text, which is this file right here, just a plain text file. And again, all of the fields are set in there using those double curly braces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, I'm going to read that into a file object on line 5 here. On 7, I'm going to take that str file and I'm going to split it. I'm going to split it into words. Yes, sir. It's under whatever we're on. I think 12. Yeah, if you go to 12, you scroll all the way down, hit the Sandbox link. It should be there. Thank you. So I'm going to split that file into words, just like we did with the email assignment. So I'll use split with no parameters, which means it splits on the space character. And now I'm going to go through each word in the file. And what I'm going to check for are the first 2 characters, remember string splicing. I'm going to slice that string for the first 2 characters, and I'm going to say, are the first 2 characters of that word the double curly braces? If they are, then I know that that's one of the fields. But there's a little bit more processing that I have to do, because if I print that, let's just print that right now, because I want to show you what the problem here is. So this isn't part of the script to do this, but I'm going to have it print that right as it finds those fields so we can see where we're at. Okay, so what are we noticing about some of those fields in the Mad Libs? Yeah, some of them have a period, some of them have a comma. So if they're at the end of a sentence or they're before a comma, then we've got extra character in there because that didn't disappear when I split on the space. So I got to clean that up. So what I'm going to do to clean that up is I'm going to say, so I've got the word here. I'm printing all the fields. I just printed them out. And what it says is, if the last character of that is not equal to the curly brace, in other words, if it's a period or a comma or any other punctuation, then we're going to strip that off. So the temporary field is that dropping the last character. Otherwise, if the last character is this, then we're just going to put that into a temporary variable. And you can see here, I am now appending that, stripping off the first two characters and the last two characters. So what I'm doing here is, I can delete that. What I'm doing here now is I'm just getting those fields. So if I print, that after this is over, after it finishes that loop, then what I'm going to get is a list of the fields. Okay, so I've got just the fields now without the curly braces. So far, so good. And they're all in an array now, in order. So super useful. That's good. So now the second part is to take each of those fields and get input from the user on each of those fields. So the second part of this code, I'm going to start with this list of all the fields. So for each field in this list, I'm going to put the field into a temporary string, and I'm going to replace an underscore in that field with a space. So I'm starting to make it more presentable in how it looks. This is just a cosmetic thing. Okay, I also am going to check to see if the last part of that field is numeric. And if it is, so if I have like noun 1 or noun 2, because I might have more than one noun in my Mad Libs, I'm taking that off so I can display it cleanly. And then the last thing I'm going to do is convert the field name to title case. So I'm just going to capitalize each letter. This is all just presentation right now. I'm just making it look better. And then look, I'm building a text. I'm building a string here that says, please enter A or N. And then that cleaned up, beautified title of that field, I'm gonna present. So I'm using that to ask the user to input that type of data. And look what I'm doing with it. Okay, I'm adding it to the dictionary using the field name as the key and the user's input as the data. So let's run this. And at the end, I'm going to print what I've got. So if I run this, person's name, okay, so that first field, actually I'm going to stop this and I'm going to throw something in here that allows us to track this a little better. So I'm going to print the fields. I'm going to print all the fields here so we can see what we're doing. Okay, so look, that second part took this first field, replaced that with a space, capitalized it, and put it in here as the input prompt. So person's name. Okay, now it goes to the second one. It says, okay, there's no underscores to replace, but we're dropping the digit at the end. We're going to capitalize it and put it in as a prompt. Okay, I'm just going to go through the rest of these because there's a lot of them. Okay, now when I've gone through all of these things, here are my fields, right? And then here is a dictionary now that has the field name, and what I put. The field name and what I put. So now I have a dictionary that says for the person's name, we have the string Bill. So the last thing I need to do is go back through that text and replace where it says person's name with what's in that last field. So now, in this last one, for each field in LIS fields, I'm rebuilding that field name, which has the curly braces front and back. And what I'm saying is str file, which is this string that has the whole text, the original text from the file, equals, we're setting it to a new, we're replacing it with this text, but in that text, we are replacing this temporary field with what's in the dictionary for that field. So we're going to put it back in there. And then the last two things we're going to do here are we are going to save that file. We're going to save that output as a file. And then I'm going to go file save dot close because I want to be a responsible file user. Okay, so now let's run through this really quick. Bill, okay, I'm giving up on this now. Okay, so there it finished. I could have had it printed out there, but instead I should have, let's see, writing, where is it? Why didn't it work? Let me see. Okay, so there we go. So there is all of my really bad entry here, but it's also somewhat poorly formatted because of where the line breaks were in the original text file. But that is now the same text, but with those fields replaced with the values that I put in. So that's a decent exercise or thing to play around with. You might want to try creating a different Mad Libs file and feeding it that one. It's a good way to play around with opening and reading and saving files. So that is the Sandbox for today. And the next time we will get together, we will actually start working on some practical uses of this or integrating it into some of our existing work and or I'm actually going to show you how to create a program that crawls the web just like Google's search engine does. And you can digest web pages. And with your previous knowledge from Module 8, you can crawl the web and gather emails. So I've taught you everything you need to know. At a minimum, by the end of this class, you'll be able to create a thriving business as a spam entrepreneur. So congratulations. Nobody who says you're not employable after one class. So anyway, yeah, that's it for today. And if you want to play around with that, or you have questions about previous assignments, I know some of you do. Do not hesitate to ask.